And I'm not from where we live. My husband's from Italy. He's from a whole other country. And people are like, oh, you got to know people. I'm like, who do I got to know? I don't know anybody. I don't want to, right? Like as a parent, I don't want another job. I want something to make my life easy.
Hey everyone, this is Justin, and you're listening to the Pursuit of Profit podcast. Welcome back, and I hope you enjoy this episode with Kathy Livingston, founder and president of Oliver's Nannies. Today, we're discussing how Oliver's Nannies is filling a huge void in the underserved childcare space, what Kathy has learned in her 25 years of experience as a franchise owner and executive of large franchisors, the importance of optimizing your marketing spend in a targeted area, and why Oliver's Nannies could be a great alternative to staffing or senior care franchises. We hope you enjoy the show, and please follow us as we drop new episodes each week on Wednesdays. I want to start with something that I heard you say recently. You said we have a lot of pizza and coffee in this country. It's time we have more childcare.
I mean, fair.
Truer words have never been spoken.
And I do love pizza and coffee. Let's be clear.
Really need another pizza shop in franchising?
Listen, I don't want to knock anybody what they're doing in franchising, right? I think that the industry is fantastic. I love franchising, right? Everything I've ever done has been in franchising. I think it's time. We all love to use the word disruptor, right? That's a big word lately, is the industry disruptors.
Yep.
We need that a little bit. We have a lot of pizza. We have a lot of home care. We have a lot of coffee. And that's great. There's a place for that. But how is there no in-home childcare? It's bananas.
But forget food for a second. Even just caring for people, there has to be 100 in-home non-medical senior care franchises, pet services. How many pet sitting, dog walking, poop scooping, all of those brands do we have? We talk about that all the time. And it's not like people don't see the demand for this. I mean, so on the consulting side, we get calls all the time from people who see the need and they want to look at daycare centers and preschools just because those are things that they're familiar with.
They know
Kitty Academy and things like that, right? They're known. And then they find out that these are massive 7-figure investments and they just kind of get deflated and say, okay, never mind. And maybe the problem is just that there's never been this thing, right? You're making the thing, but it's just, to me, it's we care about caring for the elderly people and for people's pets, and we care for cars and we care for everything. What about the babies? This is never been a thing in franchising.
I think people are scared of it. So what's wild is I was a consultant, a franchise business consultant in the home care space. I ended up being the franchisee for that home care system, great system, for 16 years. We actually recently sold that. We had New York City. And about 13 years into it, I started having kids. And I was like, well, wait a second. How does this exist for seniors? And as a parent, you either have to get into a daycare, which has crazy wait lists. You have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And I'm not from where we live. My husband's from Italy. He's from a whole other country. And people are like, oh, you got to know people. I'm like, who do I got to know? I don't know anybody. I don't want to, right? As a parent, I don't want another job. I want something to make my life easy. And like you said, I literally can call somebody to clean up my dog's poop in the backyard. I have 3, by the way, so it's necessary. And I can't find somebody just to easily take care of my kids. So I figured we need it. How does not everybody else need it? And by the way, it's beautiful for franchising because you do. As a consultant, I'm sure you get these people that are like, oh, I'd love to do something in the childcare space. And then you look at the Light Bridges, the Kitty Academies, the Goddards. You got to have significant investment. The beautiful thing is, I love our model because it's also, it's not intimidating, right? It's people helping people. It's not regulated right now. It's lower sunk costs. So I think for a lot of your franchisees, especially the buyers that are newer to franchising, this is a nice, easy, lower risk, very simple model, not regulated, necessary service that doesn't have a ton of competition. Like you said it, there's not a lot of other people doing it. So I think it's meaningful. And I think it's just, to me, it's not an intimidating model.
14.4 million US children, or roughly 2 in 3, aged 5 and younger, have all available parents in the workforce, thus need care. 1 in 5 families spends $36,000 or more on childcare in a single year. That's $12,000 more than the average cost of attending a public 4-year university, including tuition, fees, room and board. It's more than double the average cost of rent in the US.
Sure.
Just
And you don't question
incredible.
it. You don't question it. When you become a parent, I have this responsibility. There's no question that I'm going to be investing in my child's care, right?
Yep.
So parents understand that they have to spend. They want the convenience. They want the peace of mind. And by the way, in certain markets, once you hit 2 kids, it's actually more economically friendly to have 2 kids with a nanny than in 2 daycare spots in some places. So some people hear nanny and they think, oh my gosh, it's luxury service. This is crazy. It's for the upper class. It's not for the upper class. We're serving middle America because they know they need to take care of their kids. They know it's their responsibility. And from a financial investment standpoint, people know they're going to have to spend money, right? So we're able to offer this service to supplement the other options or be in place of the other options. And there's a way to make those numbers work on a family budget, because when you're at 2+ kids, it's comparable. It's comparable to daycare costs at this point.
It was going to be a question that I was going to bring up later on, because there's obviously been all this talk of inflation, and more families have 2 working parents now just to make ends meet. However, I guess the issue's been that the cost for childcare the inflation has been even higher than normal inflation. The prices are just skyrocketing. So what do families do? What's the solution here? And are you a part of the solution?
Oh, I absolutely think we're part of the solution. I think one of the things that's really cool about what we do is it's a diversified approach to having the in-home care, right? So like you can look at it from a standpoint of we can help families in a lot of different ways, but that means we also work with a lot of different budgets, right? So one of them is, we do part-time help, right? We do flex care, which you sign up for a membership and you use us whenever you want to use us. So let's say you are worried about budget, but you want to be able to access all of the luxuries of Oliver's Nannies. You're paying a 6-month membership fee and you're able to do that. So we've serviced everywhere from, teachers, nurses, needing that extra hand, all the way up to homes with double surgeons, NFL players, so our services are not only moldable from like what you need, but also the family budget and navigating that. We want to be able to reach as many people as we can. Our mission is a family solution. So trying to meet different budget levels is part of that. Parents know you're going to have to invest. One of the teachers that we had, she said, look, this isn't necessarily my budget, but I need to go to work. And like doing this on my own without you is going to be prohibitive to me keeping my job. So I'll figure out a way. And then we work with them. We want to work with those parents to make it accessible for them. So for us, that's not been a major challenge. We help our franchisees do a competitive analysis before they open. We do it with them. We test the market out. We go down all these different avenues to help make sure they're priced right too, in the same way, to help the same demographic in their markets.
So it sounds like the options are, and this might be a horrible example, but nanny might be like Mrs. Doubtfire, right? Like, yeah. I just think about like that movie, like Mrs. Doubtfire shows up every morning. Yes. Super fun. She's there 5 days a week.
Sure.
Pretty much all day, cooking, like taking care of the kids, like doing all of that. Okay. Yep. That's like the nanny. Or it could be like, hey, we want to go out for dinner and a movie tonight as parents and get some alone time, and more of like a babysitter for a couple of hours.
For sure.
That would be like, I pay a membership and I can just kind of have someone come over
We do both. So one of the things that I love is we started this, and after a while I was like, okay, you can clearly tell some people are picturing like Mary Poppins in their head. Yep. Or Mrs. Doubtfire, right? You can have a lot of different ways that it looks, right? So one of the things, we have a proprietary matching model to help the families talk about what they want. So we have nurturers, engagers, and leaders. And we have babysitters, junior nannies, and senior nannies. And really using that language helps us match up with the family. So at my home, I am totally down with like a college kid, babysitter level, painting rocks, playing hide and seek, running around playing Pokemon with my kids, right? Other homes, they want, very buttoned up, very like, this is the schedule, this is how we do things. And all of them are totally cool. We got to match them, right? Like we have to make sure it works. And the FlexCare backup program, like you said, I mean, that's a great example. Some of the things that I love, examples that I love. Dad called in and he's like, I got to take my wife to urgent care. We had somebody there in 20 minutes, 20
Wow.
minutes flat. So he was able to go with her. So like you think date nights and you think that stuff, but there's driving to activities. There's child has to stay home sick from school and you can't stay home sick, or you can, but you need to be working remote in your office and you can't have them keep coming in. Right. So we've all seen all the funny videos of like kids running in, doing crazy things while parents are on Zoom. Some people can't do that. I love it. I love it when it happens, right?
Most people don't get the full story when they start exploring franchising, so they make mistakes. That costs them big. That's why my business partner, Justin Guevara, and I wrote Beyond the Brand, the entrepreneur's guide to fearless franchising. It is our proven 6-step process at Franocity to help you find the right franchise, avoid costly pitfalls, and build a business that truly fits your goals. Grab your copy of Beyond the Brand on Amazon or any major book retailer and start building your future fearlessly.
We were just talking about that because a lot of parents are working from home now. But even with that, if you're working from home, someone still needs to like watch the baby.
100%. My 4-year-old daughter came in completely naked one time on a call and wanted me to put her pajamas on. And I'm like, I'm probably going to get raided by the FBI now. I'm like, this is not what we're doing. This is not what we're about. But like, we have our nanny, Jocelyn, or we have Aja, right? Those are our go-tos in my home. And if I'm at home working, Jocelyn worked with us all through COVID because I was working in my home office and I needed the kids taken care of. And what was wild, the 2020 was our second calendar year in business. And if you get our item 19, you'll see we more than doubled that year. And it was in that moment that I'm like, yeah, families just need this. And it was what you just said, Justin. It was that all these parents working from home, their kids had been in daycares and then they came into the home and they're like, well, we can't take care of both and keep our jobs going. Right. So we were able to be a flexible solution for them. And people love us. Like as a parent, we had somebody name their child Oliver, which I got really excited about. So they called us and they said, we were thinking of William or Oliver. And we went Oliver because of Oliver's Nannies. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like it's awesome to have such a big role in families' lives that's how they look at us in such a positive way. So I think, listen, pizza's great, coffee's great, childcare is great too.
We're doing the bonding, the insurance, the background checks. We're fully vetting these people. We're doing some sort of like a personality assessment, doing a needs analysis for the family, making sure we're matching them up the right way. We want these relationships to work, right? Like we want
100%.
the nannies to stick. So are we just literally then like sending them out and staffing them, or is like what training is involved to making sure that like the client's needs are met and they're doing the proper nanny services? Like how are we training employees? What does that look like?
So I'd say a couple things, right? Like you're touching on when we get a lot of buyers coming our way and then they're in our pipeline, one of their big questions is, how do we manage it? How do you staff it? Do you ever have a labor shortage problem? The answer is not yet. We haven't faced that. And I think if you have strategy and purpose as a business owner, you use our model, we haven't run into that as an issue. And then it's how you finesse this relationship, right? You have people working with people and you're managing people. So with that, we have a system that you get trained on, which is the matching part and making sure that, we talk a lot about nanny training. It's more about understanding the skills that the nanny's coming with and then making sure that you're assessing those skills properly through our vetting process to when it comes to matching with a family. We're not training the nannies. They're coming to us experienced. Okay. They're coming to us with like, you have a baby nanny, you have women or men that work primarily with infants. And then you have those that love toddlers, you have elementary school age. We got to get that out of them through our vetting process and then categorize that properly. So when the families come in, we've kind of gone through ensuring they know what they're doing. Like, for example, how do you install car seats? How do you use car seats? Sleep training. That might be for the younger kids. The older kids, it's different. It's homework help questions. It's engagement activity questions. We're doing all of that. We don't want to say to a family, hey, we've trained the nanny to do this in your home. We want to say to a family, we've ensured we've gotten you an experienced person that already knows how to do it. We've tested them. We've gone through competency. We're matching them. And then from your home perspective, we have an ongoing coaching system, visits, care plans, and trainings on how to manage the care once it's in place. So we stay involved, but I wouldn't say it's on the onus of the office or the franchisee to create the nanny's competency, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
a lot of people say, Justin, like, oh, am I getting into childcare? You're less getting into childcare and you're more getting into staffing.
It's a staffing business. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's an important delineation.
Well, I think the good thing also is the model of staffing is not new to franchising. Like this, the model's been built already through staffing franchises and even, I mean, senior care franchises. And maybe we should jump into this now because I think your background is super important. I mean, listen, Oliver's Nannies is a very young, embryonic brand. And as you said, it's a disruptor. You're a category creator. This really hasn't been done. Maybe it has, but just not very successfully, I guess, in franchising. There's no brand that comes to mind for me. But your background, you've been in senior care successfully as a franchisee. You've been on the franchisor side of the business. You mentioned your decades of experience in franchising. So for us, when a client says, hey, why are you comfortable introducing me to a young concept like this? There really isn't a lot of proof of concept. We get comfortable. And again, the prospective owner should be concerned. I mean, let's be honest. Most young franchisors just don't make it. There is a very high probability that the brand will not be around in 5 years, right? We get more comfortable when people, when the people behind the brand have experience in franchising. They understand how to grow a brand, how to support franchisees. As a former franchise owner, you understood like what you expected from the franchisor and how you wanted to be treated. On the franchisor side, you understood like that important balance between being like kind of firm to make sure everyone's operating within the curbs of the system, while also being caring and understanding and empathetic, because these are people who just invested their money and you need to support, right? There's like a lot that goes into this relationship.
Balance. It's all balanced.
It is totally like this pendulum, right? That needs to be balanced. So talk about that, because like, you know, the senior care model, you had a lot of success. This is a very similar concept. Is that how this all started?
Totally how it started. Because like I said, you know, why does that exist in other spaces, but parents have to struggle? To me, that's crazy. And then I started translating it. And then over probably the first 18 months, right? We're close to 6 years in. We're closing in on our 6-year anniversary at the flagship location. And I was like, okay, you know what's super cool about this model? Home care can get a little bit like plug this hole, plug this hole, plug this hole, plug this hole, right? And a lot of regulations. Tons of regulations, not in every state, but like a lot of the big states. And I was in New York City,
New York, California. I mean, licensing is totally prohibitive. Yeah.
It's crazy. I always said I can always outsmart the government, right? Like I'll figure it out. Give me a new regulation. And then you got to revamp your business model. And you know what's challenging about that in that space? Franchisors can only help you so much. They can't get down into the nitty at the state level and give you that help, right? So I said, okay, you know, what's awesome about the childcare space, there's not the regulations for the nanny agency that we have. So you're taking that whole burden off the franchisee. And by the way, off the franchisor, you're taking this very basic concept that, like you said, it exists in a lot of different ways. It exists for home care, physical therapy, maids, like think about Mary maids, even like it's so profoundly throughout a lot of different industries at this point. And let's make it childcare friendly. You know, our Senior Helpers was the franchise brand that we owned in the city. And we were wildly successful. I mean, the 16 years that we own it, I think there was 1 year that we were flat. That was COVID. I was cool with flat at COVID in New York City. It was the mecca.
You were doing better than most other industries being flat. 100%. Absolutely.
Like it was. So bringing all of that, and I would say from the franchisor perspective, you know, well, prior to Senior Helpers, I was at Sylvan Learning Centers too, which is a childcare brand. So there's a lot that I've taken from Sylvan, obviously a wildly successful franchisor. In fact, our director of operations, Melanie Hadley Franklin, she just started with us. She came over from Sylvan. She worked with me years ago. She was there for 26 and a half years. So we've got even more franchising experience now at the franchisor level. And what do I have to say about that? As a franchisee, I want to know that the franchisor is not just caring about having a fancy brand. Right? There's a lot of franchisors that'll end up going down a rabbit hole and they forget about profitability for their franchisees. They start seeing these things that look really fancy and like, oh, that's cool. I always say television ads is a big one, right? Not every brand needs television advertising, but they love to say it, that that's what they do with their national ads. But the reality is there's not a lot of data that supports that that's a really great lead driver for franchisees in their market. So like, what do I take from the franchisee side? I want to always focus on profits for our franchisees. I don't want you to buy into our system and feel like you're not getting the return on your investment at the ground level. That's important to me. I think that's, as a business owner, we shouldn't be offering a model where our eye is not on that. So a lot of our national ad spend is going to direct lead driving in the market. We're not doing brand budget right now. I look at that as out of our royalties, not out of our NAC, right? From a franchisor perspective, it's interesting what you said, the balance, right? So I look at, some people will read a franchise agreement. I'm sure you have buyers and they find it a little scary. Like, oh my gosh, I have to comply with all these things.
It's very intimidating. Absolutely.
It's intimidating. And my answer, our second Zoom call with a buyer, is the FDD review. And one of the first things I say to them is, my job is to protect your investment. So this franchise agreement isn't necessarily because I think you, Justin, might be a little rogue, right? It's more, I want to say, hey, Justin, like, you're going to buy this market and you're going to kick butt and you're going to do awesome things there. And I want to make sure when Bob buys it right next to you, Bob's only enhancing your market reach and Bob's only protecting the brand in the same way that you're protecting the brand. So like, that's there to protect the franchisee. And I think that's important. You can't lose sight of that. So I think in the franchising space, and I get that you've been in a while in it too, you see like equity firms are like hugely involved in it now. And there's a lot of different things happening. And I think what I've always loved about franchising on the franchisor side and the franchisee side is small business development, man. That's cool. Like, it's fun, like making something out of nothing, creating jobs. So that's what we're about. Keep it simple. We don't need it to be fancy just to make it, a shiny, fantastic thing. Let's make it a valuable thing where our franchisees can come in, feel good about what they're doing, and make some money. Like, that's what we want.
Listen, the TV commercials stroke the ego, right? It feels good seeing your brand on television, wasting all that money. I agree with you. I think people need to understand that FDD seems very one-sided. It seems very, very stringent. It's overly protective for the franchisor, but not just the franchisor. You're protecting the brand. You're protecting that owner who may not go rogue, from the neighbor who does and is going to tarnish the integrity of the brand. So it's not easy, right? It's like when looking at these things, we always have to put ourselves in the other side's shoes. This franchisor may have 900 or more franchisees across the country. Got to make sure everyone's kind of doing the right thing to protect the integrity of the brand. You talked about how important it is to make sure your franchisees have the highest chance of success and profitability. I want you to mention territories, because that's been another big one. So there's two questions there. One, does this work anywhere? Or does it only work in like really affluent markets where people can afford childcare services? And two, I've heard you talk about offering like pretty robust territories to people, right? We're being super fair here. So talk about that a little bit, because it does say a lot about not just jamming as many owners into a market as possible or selling as many territories as we can, but giving people the highest chance of accomplishing whatever their financial goals are coming into this, right?
Sure. So my background at franchisors was always in operational support, right? And sometimes I would walk into franchise locations and be like, I've got to consult this person on how to make money, and it's impossible in this market. There are markets that we're just not going to sell, or we're going to be very upfront. Like if you sent us a buyer and they're like, okay, I'm in X, we might say, are you willing to drive 20 minutes? Because like where you're at directly might not be. So we're going to look at that.
Because they don't, what? Because they don't have enough children under a certain age, or they don't have population density. Okay.
So like what we look at, and I would say this, to answer the first question, do you need truly affluent? No, you need like middle class and lower upper class, right? So we, again, like I said, we help teachers, we help nurses. Those folks are everywhere. Like that's not, I feel like that's normal suburban America is a good way to put it. I think, does this model work very well in a rural, like country market? I don't know that I would knock it out, but I would say that wouldn't be my first, bet. Like we'd look at the numbers. So what we look for is the number of kids in different buckets, right? 0 to 5, 6 to 10. We look at median household income, and then we look at by income bracket. We want to see it evenly dispersed, because Justin, the thing is, everybody's like, oh, well, I want the most affluent in my territory. I'm like, by the way, you also want markets where you can get workers. Like, you need both.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to, we talk a lot about, like, there were markets and other franchisor systems I was in where it might have the client demographic, but it doesn't have the worker demographic. I would rather give a more robust territory to a great owner than give a bunch of smaller territories out. We're managing more. We have more owners. The system becomes more challenging it that way. The beautiful thing about where I'm at in life, I've had business success. We don't need to force this to work and ramp it up so fast that it's like, we got to buy, sell, boom, 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 boom. So I would rather say, hey, we've got some really great people coming in. Susan Fernandez opened down in Orlando, and I'm just like thrilled for her, right? She's actually a consultant as well in IFPG, and
nice.
She is hitting, like, she's
That's always a good sign when the consultants, when the people who are selling the businesses are buying them, right? Absolutely.
So we've had 2 come through. Kevin Drudge is about to open down in Charlotte.
Kevin Drudge and Oliver's Nannies.
I'm a Drudge, by the way. I love him. He was great. He was up here at a new owner training. Like, just a good guy. When you get a caliper owner, like those owners coming through, I don't want to be stingy on their glass ceiling, so to speak, in their territory. So, like, let's give a robust territory out. Let's give a Kevin Drudge, a Susan Fernandez, Vera, our other franchisees, the opportunity to open multiple offices within one territory. I will enjoy that. It's not about signing everybody you can sign and chopping up the country as much as we possibly can. That, to me, says you're a franchisor that intends to live off of franchise fees. And that's a dangerous, dangerous game, right, Justin?
Yep.
Like, I want to live off of royalties. I want to live off knowing the franchisees are making money. They have billables. They're successful. So we'll give the robust territories with the potential to have multiple offices within the territory.
These people who you're mentioning, Kevin Drudge, these are people who have spent careers in franchising, know the brands, who could have bought any franchise. That's impressive that they see something in you and in this concept and what you're building here, and they want to be a part of it. So let's stay there. We talk to franchisors all the time on this show who talk about, like, they know what a good franchisee looks like. And we always, like, it's hard to pick them, right? There's all these personality profiles and assessments and all these things out there, but it's really hard to pick who's going to be a winner, right? You try to find fit. We always explain to people that this is a mutual evaluation process. The client is evaluating you. You're looking at them the same way to see if they're going to be able to properly execute your model. What do you look for?
Well, listen, we're childcare, right? So it's got to be somebody that has an altruistic, like, empathetic pool to connect with the brand. Is that necessary to be successful in the brand? Probably not with the model, but we're just so excited about what we do. I think for our culture in our system, it's not just about the model, right? You buy into a franchise community to be part of the community. So we like the people that are like, man, I'm just excited. Like, this is cool, right? So yeah, we're here to make money. Yeah, we're here to help families. Like, yeah, we're here to grow together. So we're looking for the people that have that, like, growth mentality. I would say that that's huge, because growth can be about money and finances. And if you're a business owner, it should be, right? Like, you should be concerned with that return on investment.
The business needs to be profitable.
Yeah. But also, like, the continued growth of just, like, learning, growing, being in an emerging brand and seeing how successful it's been so far. I think that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for people that, like, so we have different models. There's semi-passive for sure. We suggest they go with multiple units, right? A 2 territory purchase. We also have the, hey, this is my first business. Like, this is the first time I'm doing this, right? And we love them too, because we get to teach them break-even analysis and all the things that go with business, right? And those are normally a single unit territory purchase. So we're less looking for a certain knowledge set, and it's more like this attitude, right? We want to be excited every day about what we do, and we want our owners to feel the same way. And I think when you come from that place, it's easy to grow together. It's easy to coach. It's easy to support, because everybody's just more positive. and on an even playing field with that. So that's really what we're looking for. Things we're not looking for. Now, this is really funny, Justin, because we just hired a new director of franchise development. Sarah, if you all know her, she's still with us. She's been with the brand forever. She's having her first child shortly here in 5 to 6 weeks. So she's going to be taking a little time. And then she's really going to continue to help with brand development since she's been with us since 2018. But Steve asked me, like, who are we not looking for? Maybe that's an easier question, right?
Okay. Yep.
And I think that's I think our responsibility to say somebody has to be financially set up for success. So we have had to turn very, eager buyers away because we didn't think that they had the capacity to implement the model. And I don't want to sell something to somebody that's going to be, short on cash and implementing it down the road, right? So that's something we want to make sure that financially they meet, which you guys all have published and you have access to.
100%. I mean, one of the biggest reasons why someone would fail in a business is because they're undercapitalized. And this is not a preschool. This is not $1 million Goddard. This is $100K total project cost.
Yep.
Including working capital.
You can get in our item 7 at 62 to like 105, right? See, and that includes the franchise fee. But here's the deal. Justin. Like, we want you to have good credit. We want to know that you're making good decisions.
Financially responsible, right?
All of it. It's not about us getting paid our royalties. It's about you being able to do what you need to do to be successful. What's interesting is we have turned people away for that, and they get scooped up by other franchises. And I'm like, man, that's scary.
Only someone with 25 years of experience in franchising right, knows.
I'm like, I know how that's going to go.
Knows how that's going to end.
I mean, it's not going to go well. I think that, and I also think, it's been super interesting that people are like, is this a female dominated business? Right. And I think it's hilarious. The reason I think it's hilarious is my husband, who's from Italy, who is like, as Italian as it comes, is who runs our flagship location. Okay. So it looks like the Godfather setting up your childcare and people love it. And granted, we're right outside New York City. So like, okay. Right. But the thing is, we're a good solution and we care about what we're doing. So I think if somebody has the right attitude, it's a growth-based attitude, right? It's a growing attitude. It's an expansion attitude. It's a development attitude. And you're able to financially take it on, which, like, to your point, it's not a huge sunk cost business, right? It's not. So you don't need a wild amount of money to do it. I think that's what we're looking for, because then you're coachable. Then you can take the brand on. That's what's important to us. Yeah.
Well, it's a business that's rewarding financially. I would think it's a business that's also personally rewarding. I mean, for people who are, like we always tell people, like, not to lead so much with passion, but for someone who is passionate about really giving back and doing something positive for the community, I mean, you're offering an invaluable service. And then on the flip side of that, like, if you're someone who doesn't like kids, maybe not the right thing, right?
I mean, listen, I like my kids most of the time, Justin, not all of the time.
Yep, get that.
But I think, like, am I a kid person? I'm gonna let this secret out, and this is being recorded, and so now it's gonna be in the world. I'm a dog person. If you put me in a room full of 20 dogs on the floor, I like the kids. I will also play with the kids. The dogs, like, I'd be all up in there. The thing is, you just have to be ethical. You got to care about hiring the right people. Most of the owners that come in are going to hire an office person that's going to be the interface to the clients, right? So that's what the model is. The model is opening with one employee, kind of a more entry-level admin. Customer service is key. That's what you need. It's not rocket science what we're doing, but it's a lot of customer service. That's who's going to be interacting with the families, care plans, talking to the nannies. It's not going to be the owner doing that. In the ideal situation, your owner's in the background working on their business, not in their business, right? In the beginning, they got to understand it. But like any business owner, if you're out there and you've owned a business, you know how easy it is to get into the weeds and you start filling one of the roles in your company. Yeah, but then you're not working on it. You're not seeing areas of growth and things like that. So our model is very much meant the way I've always built our flagship location. I take a more passive role. I'll look at budget, marketing strategy. We sponsored a soccer event, grand opening of soccer for the community last weekend. I make sure, like, we have all the stuff. We're good to go. Somebody else runs the booth, talks to all the families, like, plays with the kids. That's what we want. We want owners in the background. So do you have to love kids? I mean, it doesn't have to be a particular passion for you. I think the passion has to be growing a solid ethical business. And
Okay.
that goes back to that whole like growth mentality.
You're not caring for kids. You don't have to be necessarily interfacing with these people. You will hire someone to do that. Because you have an employee, I would think you have some sort of like an executive office suite where they work out of.
Yep. So you get an executive office suite to open up out of. As you probably know, it sounds like you're familiar with that. They're coming with the furniture. They're coming with the internet. They're coming with nice, cheap, super like set. It goes back to, we want our model to be low cost, so high return, right? Like we want you to hit break even fast. And make that easy for you. So executive office suite, one employee. That's what you're looking at as a startup. And
as far as customer acquisition strategy, so I would think that if I'm looking for a nanny, I'm probably going to ask other parents who I know for a referral. I'll probably go to the internet, Google. I don't know if people are Googling this because it's like not a thing, but we're going to build brand awareness and hope that people search.
Google. We mostly have grown over the years. Even if you get our name from Google, what's happening is the parent doesn't just call because a parent said to call. They go Google them, right? Put the kids to bed. They're like, oh, so-and-so down the street told me about Oliver's Nannies. Let me do my research now. They Google them. So when I said we want to use our national ad funds for lead driving, that's what we invest in. So we invest in the website, blogs to help with SEO. Each location gets word-specific blogs. We have two vendors. One writes all the blogs under my direction with topics. I edit them. I talk to them. We make sure the language is both childcare specific, but location specific to help our franchisees and their market. You got it. And then those blogs, and this was interesting. We used to all talk only about your organic website ranking, right? Like that was huge. Now you have your Google business listing as well. I don't know about you, but personally as a consumer, I might not even make it to the website. I might just make it to the Google business listing with the little map and all the reviews. So we have a vendor that manages all of that, and they manage the Google business listing. So the blogs get posted to the business listings, to the websites, to your Facebook sites. We do all of that for you. And then we have a preferred provider for pay-per-click. You don't have to use them, but we encourage you to use them because we meet with them. We go through AdWords from across the country, the different markets. Like, why is this one converting at this dollar amount and this one's converting at this dollar amount? We do all of those meetings on the back end. All we ask from the franchisees are two things. One, you determine your pay-per-click budget, like the money that goes towards the actual ad spend. Okay. And two, be engaging on Facebook. So like we'll do your Facebook social media, but like join the mommy and me groups, the dads, the parent groups. They're going to post there for, does anybody know? We want you engaging, but the good thing is you never have to do a post. You don't have to think about that because one learning I had.
It doesn't cost you anything?
Doesn't cost you anything. It's coming out of the national ads, right? Because all these franchisees that I've ever worked with, they're like, I want to do this to my website. I want to do that. You don't have time. You're working on your business. So let us make sure it stays fresh. You don't have to worry about it. We're very active in the community. So my husband goes around to different pediatricians, private schools, daycares. Like I said, we sponsored the soccer club. There's other things that we sponsor around here locally, Fall Fest, all of that good stuff, right? But all of the people that get our names there, first thing they do is Google us or they go to the internet or whatever.
Everything leads back to Google. It's just peeling back that onion to say what led you to Google because you didn't Google Oliver's Nannies, right? Like,
And in an ideal scenario, we're coming up on the pay-per-click, we're coming up on the business listing, and we're coming up on the organic. And the beauty is the pay-per-click is not that expensive because you're not competing with a bunch of other companies. If you look at pay-per-click in other industries, crazy spends.
What are people doing now, Kathy? Like who's the competition?
Competition, direct competition, off the books nannies. That's going to be your number.
Okay, all highly fragmented, just a nanny, a person. Like there's no real organizations doing this.
There's moms and pops, but the thing about them, Justin, is most of them, they 1099 their nanny. So let's talk about that for a second. We employ our nanny. If you have an issue with your nanny, good or bad, you're calling us up, we're dealing with it. Or if your nanny has an issue, they're not calling you, they're calling us. And then we're navigating all of that, right? And not always an issue in a bad way. Stuff happens, right? So a lot of the other nanny agencies, I don't even know if you'd say they're competition because they almost like do more of headhunting for the family. And then once the family's hired their nanny, they're paying the nanny directly. I mean, we have workers' compensation, all of the things, background checks, driving record checks, all of that safety net. But in addition, there's the safety net of, hey, Susie's starting to be on her phone a little bit more. I don't want to have that conversation with her. It's awkward. Can you do that? And we have all these strategies on how to do it. And one of the things we do in new owner training is go through case studies. Like, how do you handle these different conversations? And some of them really passive way where nobody knows they're getting in trouble, or a direct way. And what does that all look like? So because there are like maybe two that I've come across with across the country that do what we do, and they don't answer their phone. So then there's that. Like, we had a client that we signed up and she said, you were the only people that answer your phone. So I guess you're getting my business. And I'm like, well, we set the bar higher than that.
Right. Getting that personalized attention from care.com.
No. Right. What I say to people is, they're like, in a very succinct way, what do you do? And I'm like, we are a human being, breathing, walking, talking, care.com.
Okay. Yep.
So you don't have to get frustrated going through 90,000 profiles. Call us up, tell us what you want. We're going to find it. And then we're going to manage them. We're going to pay them. We're going to do their benefits, their PTO. We're going to handle all of that. You're going to have the insurances. There's clients too, which is cool, that have used this in totally different ways, like full-time, overnights when a baby's been born. Like, they come back and they just use us in different ways. It's cool. I was out in the community yesterday. My daughter started dance, and I'm sitting next to this dad, and he's like, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, I own a local nanny agency. And he's like, which one? And I told him, and he was like, oh, you have this nice lady working for you. And I was like, oh, how did you hear about us? Our daughters happen to go to the same school. They happen to go to the same dance, but he found us on Google. And he's like, but maybe I heard it. He's like, you guys, like, I hear about it, but then you still go to Google. Yeah. So like, you got to be on Google. It all kind of goes together with the pay-per-click. But the cool thing is, budget-wise, and Justin, you look at all these brands, what do you think our monthly pay-per-click spend would have to be?
Oh.
To make a splash.
3,000 to 5,000. 300
to 500. Most franchisees are spending and starting on the AdWords.
On Google AdWords.
On Google AdWords. We have one location. She's in a more dense market.
Do you know your cost per click? It's got to be.
She's getting $7 cost per click.
Okay.
Locally at the flagship location, we're typically between 30 and 40. But like home care, you're looking at 80, 90 sometimes.
Unbelievable.
Well, there's not competition. So the thing is, for the buyers,
no one's competing. Like, for people at home, that just means that no one's competing for these clicks. It's supply and demand.
Sure, because if your biggest competitor is an off-the-books nanny, off-books nannies, they're not buying pay-per-click. They're not buying that. The thing is,
what'll end up happening is, well, the off-the-books nannies will end up working for you once you come into the market. Because they can, yeah. Right? A lot of them it's just like a cleaning company, right? It's like there's the independent cleaner, and then they lose their clients, and then they can't replace them, and then they can't figure out the marketing, and then they just go and work for a cleaning company who can.
And they come in and out. Like, we have doulas, we have different things. It's one of the things to say to somebody that's like, oh, it's an emerging brand, I'm worried about that. Get into the ground level. Get in when it's like even lower cost to penetrate all the markets, right? I have a feeling 10 years from now, we're going to be having a different conversation, that there would be competition. Do it now. Grow the brand while it's Kleenex, not while it becomes, once it becomes a tissue. That's what I think is really, really important, because you don't have to spend a lot of money because of the lack of competition.
You have such an opportunity to put up a barrier to entry nationally, and for that pioneer franchisee that is willing to get involved early on, to put up a barrier to entry locally in their market. I mean, there's going to be copycats, right?
100%.
There will be. So
I mean, I won't like it, Justin. but
you know what? Like, if there are, it's because the demand is there, the business is working. Right. It's like, I just talked to a client the other day who's looking at an industry where he's like, man, there's like all these massive companies, doing millions of dollars in this business in my area. And I was like, all right, like, so how do you feel about that? He's like, it's kind of scaring the crap out of me. And I was like, all right, well, let's reverse it. What if I told you that like no one's doing this? And it's like, well, that's kind of weird too. Right. So if there is competition, right. I mean, that's
a market.
That's a good thing. There's a market for it. Clearly, there's demand, and the businesses are making money. Speaking of making money,
talk to me.
Your item 19,
yes,
is so you started this in 2019.
Yes, that was our first full year.
So that's pre-pandemic. You did $255,000 in top line sales. your business has grown every year, year over year, through COVID, after COVID. I mean, it just continues to grow.
Because there's nobody else. I mean, there's like, the thing is, we talked about it this year, right? So at the flagship location, and I look at this all the time, I'm like, what are the market trends? Because we've had COVID, we've had these big things to test the model, and it's just needed, right? So we're talking about now, you know, what does the world look like 4 years post-COVID, or whatever we want to call ourselves in right now? And I would say we're still really needed. You know, I think we opened November 14th, 2018. So 2019, getting that ball rolling, we were stoked about. And I would say, going back to the territory conversation, all of that growth is roughly out of 4 zip codes in the flagship area. So our territories. Yeah,
so your business, your corporate, you call it your corporate affiliate, did over $1 million in revenue last year. You're in northern New Jersey.
Yep.
That would be operating out of how many territories? Do you have an idea?
So we have our own territory that is defined as one territory. Sure. Say in a given territory, you have 20 plus zip codes. We haven't even come close to cracking what would be a normal territory like penetration. So what I'm trying to say is the flagship location.
So you're doing $1 million in revenue, barely penetrating a single territory. Like still have plenty of work to do.
Plenty. We just talked to our pay-per-click vendor and I said, add 7 to 8 more zip codes to our spend. I believe when you build a business, Justin, you don't throw everything at the wall. Budget. Right. So like with each franchisee, we're going to give you this robust territory with like 20 to 30 zip codes, probably at least. It's going to depend on your numbers, but a lot. And we're going to say, based on the zip codes, let's look at the place where it makes sense to put your office, right? Should be where there's kids, should be where there's money, but it should be accessible to neighborhoods to get to you for the nannies to interview, right? We're going to pick that. And we're going to say, you know what? Do your pay-per-click spend in like 5 to 7 zip codes right around your office. Do your marketing in those same zip codes. And then when you feel like you've penetrated those zip codes, which is where we're at in that phase 1, let's call it phase 1, right? You're going to add in a whole nother phase and you're going to add a whole nother 5 to 7 zip codes in your territory. And that's what we're doing right now. And it's exciting because like I watch the local office doing it. I mean, they're here. My office in the corporate location is where the local office is, the flagship location. And I'm like, all right, let's go penetrate Westfield, Summit, these, and they are now. And it's fun to watch it because you're watching it at the flagship location to additional zip codes. And then you're watching the Susans, the Kevins, the Nickys, the Veras doing it in their locations. But so there's going to be probably in each territory, you probably have 8 to 10 phases of that, right? Yeah. Like we've really honed in and maximized this area. Let's add in another town. Let's add in another school district. Let's add in another like mom group area, right? Because you got to be strategic about it. You want to make sure you're hitting that. So we walk through that. And I always say this, and I wish other franchisors said it. When you get that demographics map with your territory, you shouldn't just be looking at it to sign up for your territory. That should be part of your market penetration plan when you're doing your spend, when you're figuring out your marketing strategy, your advertising spend strategy. Pull that sucker out, right? What zip code should I be doing? Where should I be spending my pay-per-click on? So yeah, we've got a lot of territory left to penetrate. And I'm super fair about this. The flagship location has the same exact territory numbers that the other franchisees do as well. So I want to be able to say, listen, we're doing it just the way that you're doing it with the same recipe.
I love hearing it. And we understand why franchisors like to sell multiple territories. Like we get it, right? Mm-hmm. It's again, if we're going to have 900 franchisees across the country, it's way easier to support 300 people who own 3 than 900 franchise owners, right? It's like, let's have our successful franchisees owning more turf. And we also understand why franchise owners want to land grab more geographic area because they think that they have the opportunity to really scale. We totally get that. However, it's like we deal with clients all the time where it's like, okay, there's only 2 territories left in my area. Someone else bought 10. Is it worth it? And it's like, most people are not actually growing into 10.
No
and
way.
That person probably came in with like a $5,000 a month ad spend that without thinking that $5,000 a month would really penetrate a single territory well.
Yeah.
Try doing like 50,000 across 10 territories, because you have to each treat them each as like different businesses.
Or if you don't, you're not, it's even worse off, right? Like if you don't treat them as different businesses.
Exactly, right? So we always talk about going a mile deep and an inch wide, as opposed to a mile wide and an inch deep. And that's not to say that you can't buy a second or a third territory, but go really deep into one. I've seen so many systems where the smaller franchise owners, like as far as like number of territories, are doing more revenue per territory than the multi-unit operators. There's no doubt.
All of them. So what's hilarious, I was one of those franchisees. So in the home care space, right? Basically a franchisee bought all of New York City. And I was his consultant. And I was like, man, this guy's in over his head. And we would laugh about it. So he's like, move to New York City, be my business partner. And I was like, all right. So we had all of New York City, beast of a territory, right? And we started with a budget for one. And that's just how it then organically went for 16 years. Great business, multi-dollar, $1,000,000 business. But one of the conversations I had to him recently, I was like, listen, that's passive income for us at this point, right? And we had a really good laugh, Justin, because I was like, look at how smart we are operating it all under one office. I was being totally sarcastic. Like somebody comes in and they buy Brooklyn as a separate one. Queens is a separate one. Manhattan is a separate. They're going to blow what we did out of the water, right?
Yep.
And I was like, listen, if we wanted to do it right, we would go back in and we'd reinvest and we'd actually look at each territory as a separate territory. And that is what that system's doing, because like they learned exactly what you just said. And Sylvan was that way. And a lot of places they're that way, where it's like, again, I think on the franchisor side, you can be like, man, look at all these franchise fees coming in. I like this buyer.
Yep.
It'll be great. But here's the challenge. Is the buyer liquid enough to do the different territories? It would be super easy for you to send us a buyer, and I think they're great. And I'm like, you know what? I'll let you have one office. And then that's it. Like, fine. And you can have 2 territories and operate them out of one office. I'd be doing a disservice to that person. You're never going to maximize your territory. Instead, I'd rather work with you on how we get one going, and like, how do we ladder openings, right, to get the second one going too, because exactly what you just said. I would actually almost argue that would be as close to a definitive statement as possible, that you could never penetrate multiple territories like those single unit operators can. Those single unit operators are beasts sometimes.
Well, it kind of used to be that way. Like, so home services franchisors used to say, if you're going to buy 3 territories, you have to buy 3 vans up front, 3 equipment packages up front, like 3 of everything. And people didn't like that, right? Because it's like, well, that seems like a lot of money. So they stopped doing that. They said, okay, just buy the 3 territories and start with 1 van and then grow into it, which is fine. It's totally fine. And a lot of people do grow into it over time, but you still need the capital.
You need the capital.
You need the money to be able to reinvest, right? Like,
sure.
So yes, I think the problem is when franchisors sell really big markets to people who just don't have the capital to grow into that.
And I would add the capital and the plan, right? Because sometimes people have the money, but you don't want to spend it, or you don't think you need to spend it, or you think I'll spend it when. But like, I think that plan of like target dates, and those target dates, I think, shouldn't be totally reliant upon the first unit operating to X, right? Like, you want to have a degree of liquidity to say like, okay, like, for example, what if you buy 3 territories and the first one that you open never performs as well as the second one that you open? You can't fund the second one with it.
That's
like,
right.
It gets a little hairy, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure. And that goes back to us saying like, who are we going to approve and who we're not going to approve? Like, I know there's franchise systems that are probably under heavy pressure to sell as many as they can for themselves to stay liquid. And I get that.
Grow or die. Yep.
Grow or die. But like, also there's a lot to be said for, you sell to the wrong people, you're going to feel really good for a hot minute, and that's going to boomerang on you. And those people, and not even because I'm not saying they're bad people, they got to be the right people for the brand. They got to be the right people for the stomach, for owning, their own business, for the liquidity, making good decisions, all of that stuff. So I'm with you on the whole multi-unit. We'll do 2 units up front for the right buyer, for the right liquidity. And then we have in there that subsequent territories that you could get approved for after 18 months would be half off, 50% off. So
Okay, nice.
It's not that we don't want people to own multiple territories. We want them to be ready for it when they're ready to do it. Your
$1 million corporate location, how many nannies do you have on staff at any given time?
So there's what we might have on payroll and then what we have in our roster. So in our roster, we might have more, about 45, but they're not all on payroll because some just do backup care, right? Some might have other jobs, be going to college. So I think on your payroll service, probably between 30 to 35.
So I'm trying to find the differences between this and senior care. $1 million senior care franchise would have a lot more,
but your
people.
average.
I think this is important to mention because it is the thing that keeps a lot of people out of senior care. Everyone understands the demand, and and then they hear, oh, I need 200 CNAs and caretakers in order to build the business that I want to build. All right, like how do I feel about managing that? And it's a lot. That is a lot to manage. This sounds a little bit different.
A little bit different because I think, number one, if you have a CNA, HHA, PCA, right, they register at your agency and they register at every other agency in the county or the area, right? So when you call them for a job, they might have already just gotten a job from Home Instead versus Right at Home versus Visiting Angels versus, senior helpers versus whatever. So you have to have enough of them to curb the demand. The nannies, they aren't registering at other agencies. Maybe they find something off the books, right? But what we found with our nannies that work for us, they typically just they might go to college. They might be a waiter.
Right. They have other things going on, but if you keep them busy,
oh, then they want to stay with us.
They're yours.
And they love it. Yeah. So what's interesting too, is I can tell you this right now, that our average client typically is doing between, I would say, 18 and 25 hours a week, right? It ebbs and flows depending on how many people schedule backup shifts. Okay. So also the thing that's really cool about that is all of your permanent care cases, the workforce is less transient than it is in home care, right? So, the Livingston family, I have Jocelyn, right? She's my go-to nanny. A lot of times in home care, it's less about that match. They all say it's about the match. It's less about the match. And it's more about filling those hours. It's healthcare. It's like non-medical healthcare, right? So it's we got to have somebody there. With the nannies, it's more matching and then they're set for a while. So you don't need as many nannies to fill those cases because they're way more set than the kind of fluidity that you have with all of the shifts in a home care environment. Does that make sense?
It does. I got to tell you, I love it.
Awesome.
Again, we need to grow. So when we think about our model right now, in this economy, we like low investment, low overhead, fast open, fast ramp, high demand. This doesn't require a lot of selling. You have recurring revenue. It's just a lot of those things.
Yeah, no regulations.
No regulation. We can open these in California, New York, Maryland without any licensing requirements.
As far as we know, there hasn't been any licensing yet. California, we're staying a little bit away from because of the hairiness with the joint employer stuff right now.
Okay.
We want to make sure that is all nice and tidy. We all know what's going on with that.
Yep.
And we give a lot of guidance there, right? So a lot of the guidance that we give throughout startup is how do you manage the employees? How do you keep yourself safe, right? The insurances, we're really involved with helping the franchisees. We have a buyer right now, wanted to know how much we help with the insurance, a ton. We want to make sure you're safe. We want to make sure that you're good. We're, in 5 states right now. We're being explored, in Discovery Day, final signing in a few other states. None of them so far have had a regulation, which is wild. And I can't imagine that's going to be forever, but it's just wild.
Okay.
So comparing it to home care, it's funny. So Susan Fernandez, who's an IFPG consultant, she worked in the home care agency world, not at a franchise, but at a home care agency down in Florida years ago. And she came up here for new owner training, and her and I were laughing too, because we're this is less stressful. You're not dealing with people dying. You're not getting calls at 10 o'clock at night. It's less intense after hours. You're talking about, for me, I have kids. and I have stuff I like to do on the weekends and the evenings and all of that. It's mostly a business hour business too. And I think that gets lost sometimes too. Some of these other franchisors, like I think the franchisees are like, oh, that sounds great. And like, oh, the money works, and oh, like low this and whatever, great return. But like, look at the hours, right? You look at the daycare hours. Even if you're doing daycares, you're not getting home till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Like, what's your personal lifestyle and what does that look like? I think just as much as you talk about the financial flexibility, that flexibility is there too, which I think is coming from franchising. And I don't know if you disagree with this as a consultant. People get into franchising, in my opinion, either for, working for themselves and having life flexibility, or money, or both. Most of them both, I feel like.
Without it, we talk about this all the time on this podcast, especially I feel since the pandemic, lifestyle, quality of life, freedom and flexibility with time and schedules is more important than the money. People are buying franchises for time. You
need the money to be there, but then it needs to look right for your
life. The money
life.
provides optionality, right? It gives you options. Correct. But again, like you look at senior care, it's not really known for being a lifestyle business. Like that could be a grind.
The Department of Health could walk in at any point in time. Yep. I mean, I have to tell you, Justin, I got showered for you guys because what I normally do on Friday, I go play lacrosse. Like I drop my kids off at school and I go and I play lacrosse. I love lacrosse. I'm a goalie too.
You're badass. Awesome. I'm really glad you made the time to come on because the model's interesting. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And I think that once this gets some attention out there, you're going to start to ramp up really quickly. So we're excited to see where this goes. Any parting thoughts or comments for our audience?
I mean, parting thoughts and comments is like, hey, we love working with the consultants and the buyers. And I think we are an emerging brand. If you're a maybe on it, give it a shot. Meet with us. Talk to us. You'll never know. Like, have the chat. It's not going to hurt anything at all. It might just, check the boxes for you. And I think don't be scared that it's an emerging brand. If anything, be excited. That's an exciting thing. Yeah. So
totally. This will obviously be one of those brands where it's like, thought about being a business owner, thought about franchising, never thought I would start a nanny business, right?
Exactly.
Thought about burgers and pizza, ended up in a nanny franchise, and now I have this great business. And right, who would have thought? So thank you so much for coming on, Kathy.
Thanks, Justin, so much.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on more great content. And if you're considering investing in a franchise, whether it's the brand you featured today or another opportunity, we're here to help. Visit us at Franocity.com. That's FRANOCITY.com. We love to help you take that next step towards business ownership.